For about 40 years, we were told that eggs were dangerous, that the yolk was a ticking time bomb for your heart, that eating more than one a day was reckless. Millions of people threw away the yolk, switched to egg whites, felt virtuous, and quietly missed out on some of the most important nutrition a human body can get. Here's what the science actually says in 2026, especially if you're over 40. Because eggs do something quite specific to your muscles, your brain, and yes, your cholesterol. And the truth is far more nuanced than anything you were told in the 1980s. Stay with me. This one is going to change how you look at breakfast. The big picture, why over 40 changes everything. Let's set the stage, because after 40, your nutritional needs shift in 3 very specific ways that most general health advice completely ignores. First, muscle loss accelerates. After 40, most adults lose 1 to 2% of their muscle mass every year, a process called sarcopenia. By 60, that adds up to a significant loss of strength, balance, and metabolic rate. Protein needs actually increase as we age, because our muscles become less efficient at using the protein we eat. Second, brain health becomes a frontline concern. Cognitive decline is not something that begins at 70. Changes in memory, processing speed, and mental clarity often start quietly in your 40s. The nutrients that protect against this matter now, not later. Third, your metabolism changes. Hormonal shifts in both men and women alter how your body processes dietary fat and cholesterol. The one-size-fits-all dietary advice from decades past doesn't apply uniformly to a 50-year-old, the same way it does to a 25-year-old. An egg addresses all 3 of these areas. That's what makes it unusually relevant to this specific stage of life. Let's go through each one. Eggs and muscle, the protein story. One whole egg contains about 6 to 7 grams of protein. But what matters more than the quantity is the quality. Eggs contain all 9 essential amino acids, in proportions that are almost perfectly matched to what human muscle tissue needs. Scientists use something called the protein digestibility, corrected amino acid score, or PDCAAS, an egg score at or near the maximum. They are the gold standard against which other protein sources are measured. The yolk, specifically, contains leucine, the amino acid most directly responsible for triggering muscle protein synthesis. This is why whole eggs are consistently superior to egg whites alone for muscle maintenance. Eggs in your brain, the choline connection. This is the part most people don't know, and it might be the most important section in this entire video. Egg yolks are the richest dietary source of choline on the planet. One large egg contains roughly 147 milligrams of choline, and the recommended daily intake for adults is 425 to 550 milligrams, depending on sex and age. 2 to 3 eggs gets you most of the way there from a single meal. So why does choline matter? Because choline is the direct precursor to acetylcholine, one of the brain's most critical neurotransmitters. Acetylcholine is involved in memory formation, attention, and the speed at which your brain processes information. It is also the neurotransmitter most depleted in Alzheimer's disease. Studies consistently show that populations with higher choline intake have better cognitive performance and lower rates of cognitive decline over time. A large study from the University of Eastern Finland followed nearly 2,500 men for over 2 decades and found that higher choline intake was associated with a significantly lower risk of dementia. Choline also supports the structural integrity of brain cell membranes, essentially helping to maintain the physical architecture. Your neurons need to communicate effectively. Most people in their 40s and 50s are choline deficient without knowing it, because it's not a nutrient that gets mainstream attention, and eggs are by far the easiest way to fix that. The cholesterol myth, finally settled. All right, let's address the elephant in the room, or the egg in the pan. Yes, egg yolks contain dietary cholesterol. One large egg has roughly 186 milligrams. The old guidelines said to stay under 300 milligrams per day total. That sent generations of people running from the yolk. Here's what the research now shows. For most healthy people, dietary cholesterol has a much smaller effect on blood cholesterol than we were led to believe. Why? Because your liver is producing cholesterol constantly. Roughly 75 to 80% of the cholesterol in your blood is made by your own body, not absorbed from food. When you eat more dietary cholesterol, your liver tends to compensate by producing less. The system self-regulates. In 2015, the U.S. Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee removed the specific numerical limit on dietary cholesterol, for the first time in decades, stating that cholesterol is not a nutrient of concern for overconsumption. Multiple large studies, including a 2019 meta-analysis in the British Medical Journal covering over 500,000 people, found no significant association between moderate egg consumption and cardiovascular disease risk in the general population. There is one important exception. Roughly 25 to 30% of people are what researchers call hyperresponders. Their LDL cholesterol rises meaningfully in response to dietary cholesterol. If you have a strong family history of high cholesterol, or have been told by your doctor that your LDL is elevated, it's worth getting a blood test before eating eggs daily and monitoring your response over 6 to 8 weeks. For the majority of people over 40, eggs are not the enemy. Saturated fat from processed foods, chronic inflammation, and insulin resistance are far more impactful drivers of cardiovascular risk. Other benefits worth knowing. We've covered the big three: muscle, brain, and cholesterol, but eggs have a few more noteworthy effects worth knowing about. Eye health. Egg yolks are rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, two carotenoids that concentrate in the retina, and have been shown in multiple studies to reduce the risk of age-related macular degeneration and cataracts. Both conditions become significantly more common after 50. Bone strength. Eggs are one of the few dietary sources of vitamin D, a nutrient critical for calcium absorption and bone density. After 40, especially in people who work indoors, vitamin D deficiency is increasingly common and directly linked to osteoporosis risk, satiety, and weight management. Eggs are highly satiating. Studies have shown that eating eggs for breakfast reduces calorie intake by an average of 300 to 400 calories later in the day, compared to a carbohydrate-heavy breakfast. For anyone managing weight after 40, when metabolism slows, this is practically significant. Skin and hair. The biotin, B vitamins, and sulfur-containing amino acids in eggs all contribute to skin, elasticity, and hair health areas. Many people in their 40s and 50s start to notice changes in how many eggs and how to eat them. So what does the practical daily habit actually look like? For most healthy adults over 40, 1 to 3 whole eggs per day is a well-supported range. Studies showing neutral or beneficial cardiovascular outcomes often involve 1 to 2 eggs daily. Some research on physically active individuals shows no issue with up to 3 whole eggs a day. Cooking method matters more than most people think. Here's the hierarchy. Soft-boiled or poached is the best way. Lowest oxidation of fats in the yolk. Nutrients fully intact. Scrambled on low heat is a good way. High-heat scrambling oxidizes some of the cholesterol in the yolk, though the overall health impact is modest. Fried in butter or olive oil is also a fine way to eat eggs, but the cooking fat adds its own variables. Hard-boiled, very good for protein and micronutrients. Slightly lower choline bioavailability than soft-boiled. What to pair them with? Pair eggs with vegetables, spinach, tomatoes, peppers to combine the fat-soluble vitamins in the yolk with the antioxidants in produce. Your body absorbs far more carotenoids from vegetables when eaten alongside dietary fat from eggs. What to avoid? Don't pair eggs with processed meats, like sausage or bacon, as a daily habit. The saturated fat and sodium in those pairings create the cardiovascular risk profile, often incorrectly blamed on the eggs themselves. The egg was demonized for decades based on incomplete science, and that fear cost an entire generation of people one of nature's most nutrient-dense, affordable, and versatile foods at exactly the stage of life when they needed it most. If you're over 40 and you've been avoiding whole eggs, I'd encourage you to reconsider, ideally in conversation with your own doctor. If you have specific cholesterol concerns, because the science in 2026 tells a very clear story for most people, whole eggs support muscle preservation, protect brain health, and do not meaningfully raise cardiovascular risk. 1 or 2 a day. Don't throw away the yolk. That's where most of the value lies. If this video helped you, please hit like. It helps this channel reach people who are genuinely looking for this kind of evidence-based health information. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We're looking at what happens to your body after 40 when you eat salmon every week. And leave a comment below. How many eggs do you eat per week right now? I'd genuinely love to know. See you in the next one.